I'm glad you've joined us today. I enjoy these times. I want you to enjoy them. I want you to get so much benefit from it that you're willing to call a friend and tell them to listen. Listen up. I want to deal today with one of my favorite. I remember, hey, over 50 years ago, building this message in a preaching class. Oh, by the way, Mayday, and I've preached it all over the world. So I want to share with you the skeleton of it and put on a little meat. The city was in terrible shape. There was a famine due to the fact that around the city was an army determined to shut the city down. And we might have thought, well, we're about to meet with the city fathers, maybe the elders of the city, maybe the king and some of his cabinet. But the Bible gets off the road, and we find ourselves with 4 leprous beggars. Bottom of the food chain, no credibility, so repulsive nobody could be around them. They were unwelcome in every area of the town. But they're at the city gate. That's where the city fathers gather to make decisions and to fellowship with the hoi polloi, the leaders of the city. But the 4 leprous beggars are there, and the Bible lets us in on their meeting and tells us what they're talking about. It's one of the most amazing things. By the way, let me just stop and tell you. When you open the Bible or talk about something you know that is pertinent and relevant and meaningful and valuable, you need to stop and just say, wow. Because what you're dealing with is a wowable. You can say wow and get by with it. Wow, we are let in by the Bible, a whole culture at risk now. An enemy army perched and ready to close the vice, destroy the city. Things are so bad that 2 women are visiting, and they've decided each has a child to eat one child one day and another child another day. That's how bad it is. And so they're there. And one of them says, we have this record. Fellas, we do not well. We're in trouble. We can't stay here. I'm going to give you 4 areas of advice that will not only change your life, but keep changing it as long as you live. And when life hits a rut, or a hole in the ground, or you fall in a lake, or you're chained to a situation of impossibilities, stop, look, and listen. First beggar, I fancy that 4 of them were there, and we hear one say one thing, another say his thing. The third and the fourth, 4 things. The first beggar speaks up and says, we can't stay here. Now, you know what that means? It is not viable for you to stay where you are very long. It's just not good. Are you aware that you can't go back? The next one said that. He said, well, we can't go back. Have you discovered that back isn't really there? It never will be like it was. Stop trying to get back to where you were. Oh, it's the good old days. Do you have any idea why we talk about the good old days? Because the farther we get from them, the better they look. they're good to run back to. And we would suppose that they're just like they were. Decide two things. We can't stay here. We can't go back. Well, the third one spoke up. Listen to the logic. I call it the leper's logic. First one says, we can't stay here. Number two says, well, we can't go back. The third one said, well, that leaves only one thing. We got to go on. Where are you in your life? Can I tell you, you can't stay there? And you can't go back? And you got to go on? I know what you might be thinking. Well, I'd be happy to go if I knew where on was. I tell you where on is. The next thing God teaches you, tells you to do. Wisdom is what to do next. Okay, we have 3 points of logic. Here we go. Can't stay here. Can't go back. We got to go on. And the 3 least expected people in the city, by the right decision, make a decision that will change history. 4 dumb, poor, weak, sick, miserable lepers. They gather up their rags and walk flat out of the city toward the tents of the armies. Headquarters. There are armies surrounding the city. This is headquarters. They walk into, not a sentry, not somebody waiting to cut their heads off. They walk in. They look at one another. They can't find anybody. Everybody's gone. They lift a tent flap, and there, the mess tent, the mess hall. Every table laden with food of every kind, and they go wild. They eat and eat till they can hold no more. They began to go to other tents and find gold and silver and raiment, clothes of every kind, and they dressed up and filled all their pockets with money until they couldn't walk. And there's a fourth logic. One of them said, we do not well. This is a day of good tidings, and we're not saying anything about it. So let's link that to the other 3 points of logic. Can't stay here. Can't go back. Gotta go on. Gotta tell somebody. The cycle of continuing logic must be kept up. You can't stay here. You can't go back. You've got to go on. And when you find what you find by going on, you get to tell somebody the good news that there is a way out. There's a place where bondage is broken, where sickness gets well, and God has his way. Leper logic. Do it. want to tell you about something that's coming up on our schedule in the month of March. We're going to Israel. Frida, my wife, has never been. I have not been in over 25 years. I'm looking forward to going. I wish I could openly invite you to come. You might be able to, I'm not sure. But Prepare International, a ministry of Randy Boyd and Drew Brown, one of the greatest, most influential ministries, ministering to Europe and now into Africa and other places. But we're going to Israel. We'll be leaving around the 12th and going through the 23rd. So, Israel trip. Pray for us. You might decide and be able to be a part of it. God bless.